Right now, this is Unfiltered Coffee series round number 2. This time we're actually going to have unfiltered coffee provided by a nice Violetti mocha pot over there. Have you been using yours? Did you learn how to use it since the last time we spoke?
Yeah, I made a couple more cups out of it. It's been better. It's been better.
Not as burnt.
Nah, and I like it. Had some like on the inside of the upper part where the actual coffee pours into. It had like some like charred, like black.
Oh, jeez.
So I was like, how did that happen? So I've been like
Cleaning it.
I've been trying to wipe that clean, but you can't like use anything like abrasive or strong.
What you can do, and actually they recommend you do this every like, I don't know, 20 or 30 brews, is you put coconut oil in the bottom, like with the water, and then you can do like, you can boil.
Just cycle that through.
Yeah, cycle
without
through.
coffee.
Yeah, just water and oil. But I think they specifically say coconut oil.
I mean, that's
Or they might have like a cleaning oil
not
or
that
something.
hard to find.
No, so, and then you could also like just wipe it down with like that, and
Yeah.
paper towels are pretty good as long as they don't like fall apart. They like really trap like the coffee residue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I've been, the last couple ones I made, I kept an eye on it so it didn't feel like actually like just sit up there and cook.
Yeah, this one today is probably gonna be burnt. We have like no way of controlling the temperature. It's really hot.
What kind of grounds do you have?
Very dark roast, so it's probably just gonna taste like, I don't know, burntness.
That's fine. Yeah, I've never made it over a fire. I've only ever like done the just like heat up water and pour like the instant coffee into it, like when you're camping.
Yeah, I've never made coffee over fire either, so this is the first.
And honestly, instant coffee over like fire boiled water isn't that bad. It has like a smokiness to it.
Yeah, instant coffee's not the worst.
Unless it's Folgers.
Really? I got some of that for like a grad gift. High school. I think it took me 2 years to use like 10 packets, but that's pretty good. We have all the nature sights and sounds. We got dogs loose in the background. Trees blowing in the wind.
Yeah, no kidding. Sorry about the wind. Pick the windiest day of the month to do an outdoor recording.
Yeah, it must just be like, I don't know, the springtime is just rolling the wind through here or what, but the last 3 days have been ridiculous. Yesterday I was getting blown around on the highway driving back here.
I know, I was getting blown around today. But say spring is, you know, I would say it's here, but it could snow next week. I don't know. It snuck up on us.
I want to get the coffee. I mean, there's your inside, there's your spout. Looks like it already has little grounds in it. It's like, I already have the grounds in here. I did grind them fresh, I guess, so that's like,
You're a pro.
How's it compliment under here? Get it out. It's water boils, rolls through the ground, out the filter on this is just metal. So I guess technically it is filtered, but it's not like a paper filter, so none of the oil is getting trapped. Typically I like to put hot water in here so it doesn't take very long to go through because it contributes to the burnt taste. see how this goes.
Yeah. So you went to Yellow Springs.
Yeah, that's a topic for today, isn't it? No, we did that like poll thing on our story. How many responses on Yellow Springs? Only 2 or 3, I think.
2 or 3 serious
People
responses.
were like, yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, that was it. But I think that's like you know, I don't think anything happens there. I think it's just like.
I think there's a lot that happens there. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I want to get, so I think what we should actually do is just like start calling people that like own like bookshops and stuff there.
Yeah.
And like, cause like I was in a bookshop, I bought a couple books from there. Well, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, but like people that like run the shops and stuff seem like they've been there forever. Out of here. They seem like they've been there a while and like they know what's going down in the area. I don't know, it seems like an interesting place. So like the first time I was there, we went with like my family, we went to that you've been there, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the Young's Dairy Barn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big old barn.
So that was like where we went, but then we like visited the town for a little bit.
Yeah.
I was like, this is kind of interesting, but like I'd never been to anything like that. I was probably, I don't know, 12 years old or something like that. I'd never seen like a record shop or like that kind of bookstore.
Or
like,
weed growing out in the
pretty cool.
open.
I didn't see any weed there.
When I
Did
so
you?
I went a couple years ago, and it was like half the shops like would have like this weird like side entrance or like a door you couldn't find, and there would be like weed growing right there, and you'd be like,
Really?
yeah,
Wow, I've never witnessed that. Okay.
look at that.
So there's weed growing there. Look at what?
The dogs were.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't believe this is not going yet.
It's like, let's say, quite an artsy town.
Yeah.
A lot of art shops, a lot of bookshops, a lot of record shops.
Very strange for like a small town in Ohio. So yeah, I've always just found it interesting. And then like after I went last time, I was just reading a couple like Wikipedia pages, or like I'd be reading a book, and then it'd be like some like cultural figure from like the 60s or 70s would just like randomly mention like living in Yellow Springs or like
Yeah, I feel like
being there for a while.
it can produce quite a character if you stay there long enough.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So that's why I want to, like, there's probably people that lived there, like, during that time. I don't know. But, I was going to just straight up read the Wikipedia page, but I think I remember some of it. So, I was like, what, like, why is this area like this? And I guess it was founded, by like a group of like Christian people that were trying to form a utopia, and like there had been like a similar city in Indiana, and they were kind of trying to mimic this city, so it was like a utopian commune. Yeah, that was the first thing, and it was only like there's like 100 people founded it in like the early 1800s, but then I don't know, the families that founded it started fighting, so it like broke up.
I'll do it.
What did it say after that? Like a railroad went through there, so then it started to get busier.
Yep, they do.
People went there. There was like a big thing in the 1800s where, because there like actually are springs there that apparently have iron, and that's why it's called Yellow Springs. Still not brewing. So like in the 1800s, people would travel to these places where springs were and like attend these spas or like get in the water for healing purposes.
Right. And now, you know, and now they sell crystals at the shop for healing purposes, so that hasn't changed.
I had never heard of that culture, but like when I was in Indiana too, where was that place at? I can't think of it. There was another small little town there. Oh, French Lick is what it was called. Yeah. And like I started reading about the history of that too, and like same thing, there were springs there, so these people just built like resorts there.
Yeah, I mean, it draws a person in. How could you not like a spring?
I guess so. Alright, so I was worried about this being too hot. And apparently it's just like not hot enough.
You just like squeeze that.
Yeah, it's not
It's
that
not
hot.
hot. Mine gets hot enough to where I
Alright,
feel like
pause.
that plastic handle's gonna melt.
Yeah, I guess I have to stoke this fire back up. So yeah, this is part of a series. This is Unfiltered Coffee. The sub-series is towns that have the word springs in them.
Which is also not part of the name of the
Um,
podcast.
Yeah, this is Coyote Cast sub-series, Unfiltered
Unfiltered
Coffee
Coffee.
sub-series, cities that have the word springs in them. We're trying to do Steamboat Springs next, so
Yeah, so stay tuned. That one's gonna be riveting.
we were in Steamboat Springs for like an hour, so
I don't even think.
not even. We got coffee
40
there and then
minutes.
left. We parked at the post office. We illegally parked at the
Yeah.
Steamboat Springs post office.
That episode's mostly going to be around whether you should or should not park at the post office.
It worked for us, so
Yeah. More details to come. Oh my god.
let's see what else. Oh, wait, I did think of another one. Why can't I think of it now?
Springfield?
No,
Is that not it's
as of Springs.
Springs? I'm
It can't be
sorry.
spring.
Yeah. My bad. My bad.
I don't know. Anyways, Yellow Springs. No, anybody that hasn't been there should go and check it out. It's so small, and it's just like
Yeah,
don't
it's
know, it's
it's
the coolest
small,
little
but it's
thing.
like not so small that like you can fly through. Like you can spend
well, there's a lot. You could
full
a whole day there.
afternoon, a whole day, like just looking at all the like odd shops and like kind of like talking to the shopkeepers and stuff are interesting too.
The coffee shop was great. So I went to one. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a coffee shop, and it was also a specialty wine shop. And they also just sold used books, like they were on the
Yeah,
shelves. For you to
Every
browse.
store there sells used books, I think. No, I can't. I went to the ice cream shop. I don't know if I've been to the coffee there. So like, there's the Young's Dairy outside of Yellow Springs.
Oh yeah, that's good too.
Uh,
Not the same vibe at all as like Yellow Springs. I mean,
no,
kind
weird,
of, but
like super touristy.
Yeah.
Like hay rides, like slides, get your picture in like the corn cutout. I don't know. But there's like another like dairy thing like right in the middle of Yellow Springs. Don't go there.
what's
Sorry.
that one?
I don't know.
Oh, just
I
like
went
an
there-
ice cream shop?
Yeah, and I was excited because I love like fruity ice cream flavors, and we get there and there was like 50 different, like every ice cream flavor that's like fruity that you can imagine. And like I got some that sounded good to me. My friend got something, and we sat down and our ice cream she got something entirely different. Our ice creams were the same color and tasted the same. I'm like, we have one type of ice cream here.
It is
They're just
name it
lying.
something
Yeah.
different.
Like you want the watermelon, okay, and they go to the same pump.
Huh.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Maybe the thing was broken, but there was nobody else there. So go to Young's Dairy.
Yeah,
At least
they
at least
have
you'll
good
get some
cheese
good.
curds too.
Yeah, so they got everything there.
Cows.
I bet they got
Goats.
some good whole milk.
Yeah. Good milk.
Good whole milk.
What else did I see there was interesting? I mean, we went to like a record shop. Record shops are always pretty interesting.
That's like
It's like a multi-floor record shop.
Oh yeah, I've been to that one.
Yeah.
That one that's kind of open.
Mm-hmm.
It's the kind of town where if you spend too long, like spend like more than a day there, you're gonna come home in like a tie-dye shirt. Like
Yeah,
regardless of
super-
if you're a tie-dye person or not, it will convert you. A lot of record shops. There's a, it's called like Black Cat or like something books. That's like kind of reminds you of like the wand shop in like Harry Potter. Like you get in the back and it's just like books like falling off the shelves and like piles of books in the corner. And like you get back there and you're the only one except for some like old lady who's like, you know, lost in there or something.
Maybe that's where I went too. Like, it seemed like they had just moved into that bookshop, but I don't think they had because
No.
like the books were on the shelves.
No, they're just like
They're just on the
piled.
floor.
Yeah. And I think nobody
really
cares.
strange.
And like it's the kind
It's
of
pretty
place
cool
where
though,
like,
because it makes you think like you found like something. You're like, oh man, that's really cool. Like,
yeah.
I didn't expect
It's the kind
to
of
see
place
that.
where every store you walk into, it's like you just discovered it. There's
I
a
don't
great
know.
toy store there.
You're not gonna get coffee today. We should have just made it on the. Oh yeah, there is a toy store there. I didn't go in.
Oh, in the toy
What's
store.
in there?
Toys.
It's like yo-yos and stuff, like old-fashioned
It's
toys. Or
it's quite up there, yeah, with that. It's either
children's
that or
books?
like magic kits. I
Mm.
don't know. Like they probably have like one of those false thumbs. Maybe I should just put in some stock video of coffee.
Yeah, maybe sometime today.
I feel it on my legs, man. It's getting warm.
It is getting warmer. I just no coffee.
There's also some good bike paths that like go to Yellow Springs. So
Oh really?
if you're a cycler,
Seems like a good biking area.
yeah,
It's really pretty, like the
Oh, yeah.
outskirts of town and everything, like the
it's like rolling country.
surroundings.
You know, Dave Chappelle lives there.
I have heard that, yeah. I don't know where he lives though. Like somewhere a little bit outside of town, I think.
I don't know where he lives.
Well, I mean, I don't think he lives like in the downtown.
I don't know.
Um, yeah, let me think about. I'm gonna pull up the Wikipedia. Read
Go
some.
for it. I bet there's some good
Interesting
Airbnbs up in there too.
I was trying to like. Yeah, there probably are good Airbnbs. I've been trying to like find real history of it. It's difficult. Like I was on. They have like a historical website that has a bunch of old newspapers and stuff there. Oh, I was reading today. There was a film company that was there for like 20 years, like from the 50s to the 70s.
It's pretty neat.
Hold on. History. Commune.
Dry as bone.
Antioch College, founded in 1850 by the Christian Connection. A colony of 30 freed slaves settled in the village in 1862. So it's been a pretty like progressive area, I guess. Antioch. During the Red Scare of the 50s, Yellow Springs and the Antioch College came under scrutiny for alleged sympathies of faculty and students with the Communist Party. What?
Commies.
I'd like to find that. Where
Did you put water in the bottom?
Yes. You saw it.
I didn't know it. Oh yeah, no, I remember now. There's water in there somewhere.
Oh, there's supposed to be a good public radio station there.
Oh, I bet there is. And I bet people listen to it too.
Can't find it. I don't know. Communes are interesting. It's like weird to think that they've been happening like forever in America,
There's
not just like recent like cult movements in the 60s.
still a decent variety of communes you can join today.
Still out
Like,
there?
yeah, that seem, I don't know, like the kind where you aren't entirely brainwashed.
Hmm.
But of course, it's like you can go visit these places and like they've got websites and whatever, and but you know it's like when you go on a college tour, like you show up and they're like, oh my god, like here's all our great things. Do you want a T-shirt too? Like
Yeah.
they show you all the good things, and they don't tell you about the I don't know, the part where you can't leave.
Yeah. What? I mean, I guess a commune where you. I don't know.
It's like it's cool because it's like the whole idea of the majority of them is like,
It's like share all your
yeah,
resources and stuff.
just you know, like buy in, like you like pay $50 or whatever and you join,
Mhm.
and from there it's like you're just like assigned like a job, but if you don't necessarily like
gardening.
do it, yeah, like
Something
like
like that.
that, like you're a bread maker or something, but if you don't want to make bread or whatever, it's like somebody else can help. I don't know, and you put some work in, you get a lot out of it, and you can't leave.
I swear I just saw like coffee run down the side. There's like that steam valve. I wonder if it's like making too much pressure or something.
Shoots coffee out of the top.
This has been a failed experiment as far as the coffee.
Great coffee though.
This is gonna be so strong. This is gonna be the strongest espresso style coffee ever.
I think it's done.
It's just getting started. It's dark. It actually smells pretty good though. Do you care if I try this? I think this
Yeah,
is
go
your
for
cup,
it.
but it's not that burnt, honestly. Anyways,
Yeah.
now we're into the portion where I'm going to rip off other podcasts that I've listened to recently. Yesterday I was listening to a podcast that said basically that most of the famous bands of the 60s actually like sucked at playing their own music and could not perform live, and that most of their tracks were done by
Like a
studio
studio band?
musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, were done by studio musicians, and yeah, that was basically it. That they were just kind of like propped up by the record companies or whoever to make some money.
That's pretty cool.
I don't know if there's any truth in that. Maybe.
I can rip off a portion of podcast for you.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know if I sent this to you. The one about the walled off portion of a mall,
Where at?
New Jersey possibly.
Okay.
Basically, an interview with a guy who didn't grow up, he was living near a mall that was going up, and he noticed a portion of the mall where the walls basically made a room that was inaccessible from anywhere in the mall.
Yeah.
And he noticed as it was going up. He's like, what is that for? So him and his wife investigated, and they could actually access that inner room of this mall just by going through like a small gap on the outside behind them. Like basically there's a portion where the walls didn't quite meet, and they could squeeze in there and they could get into the mall.
Okay.
And they were inside of it, but they couldn't actually access the mall, except they did find one door. And it was just like dirt floor in there. And so they spent like a year, and what they would do is they would go in there and they'd fill their pockets with like the trash and stuff in there from like when the mall was built, and they would just bring it out of the mall. And then they started bringing their own stuff in there, and they installed hardwood floors, and they would do it by just literally picking up like their stuff at a store, walking right through the mall, like in front of everybody, going in that back door, and then they literally built and furnished a full apartment in there and lived in there for like 4 years before anybody caught them. And they got away with like a minor trespassing. Like
What?
they didn't even have to do.
So
like,
why
there
was
no
the
fine. What?
why was the room there?
They
The
didn't-
mall never said like when they found it.
No, that was what was weird. It was the court case went something like the owner of the mall was really pissed, and basically he was like, these people have been living in here, like they've been trespassing for 4 years.
How did
every
they
day.
prove it? Like how long they were there, I guess.
They confessed to it.
Oh, okay.
You can't really lie at that court thing.
Oh, yeah. Fair.
But basically, the judge was like, "What do you mean they were living in there?" And the owner and like his attorney or whatever were like, "Yeah, they had hardwood floors, they had a TV, they had an Xbox, they had a china cabinet, they had couches, beds,
How did they
chairs,
get that in?
coffee tables.
How did they get it through the...
Photos of family, like a refrigerator, all this stuff." And at that point, the judge was just like, "What the heck? These people weren't trespassing. they were just like doing their own thing. Nobody was harmed. That's fine.
Really?
Yeah, the judge was just like, that's ridiculous. Like, you guys need to not throw a fit about this.
What podcast was this on?
So shout out to the podcast 99% Invisible. It's an art and design
yeah, that's a good
podcast.
One. Yeah, I've listened to that quite a bit.
Roman Mars.
That was on 99% Invisible? I haven't listened in a little while.
Yeah. They put out like a podcast a day. It's crazy.
So like, when I visited Sagrada Familia, I wanted to like listen to some podcasts about them.
Yeah.
So that was like the first one I did.
Yeah.
And then I was sort of into Frank Lloyd Wright for a while, and they did like maybe 2 or 3 on Frank Lloyd Wright.
Yep.
They were really good. You know, I toured Taliesin East.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could go to Taliesin West.
It was weird.
I've been to my favorite's Falling Water. I've been to several of them, but I haven't made it to Taliesin.
It was yeah, it was his private home, and like
it's like his vacation home though. It wasn't his.
Well, I think
home.
West was his.
Okay.
Was his vacation home.
He had homes.
Studios.
Yeah.
His studio was attached to the house.
Mm-hmm.
At least one of the studios. They're so weird. It was like small, like it almost felt like a Hobbit house or something. So like he like intentionally made the hallways really small so that you would hurry through them and get to the living spaces. But it was also like it was pretty short. Like the ceilings were really
He does all the short ceilings in long rooms, and it just like feels so much different than a normal house.
It also, so since it's old, like he tinkered with it and he would be like redoing it all the time, but since he has passed away and like they've left it there, he like also, he was so into the design that he like didn't do like some of the like fundamentals of construction. Like he didn't like pour a foundation, so the floor has settled, so like parts of like the rooms, like the floorboards are like warped or have like fallen into the ground basically as the house is settled, so it's pretty strange.
Well, you know he designed those floorboards.
Yeah, but no, but like even the tour guide was like, yeah, like sometimes he just like didn't really care about like structural like
he was the kind of guy who like, and if like if like an engineer showed up and was like, Frank, you're doing it wrong, he probably would have shot the guy.
Speaking of murders and
Taliesin.
Taliesin like burned at least twice, maybe 3. Like he built it 3 or 4 times, and the first time he was out of town, maybe in Chicago, like with his mistress having an affair, and his wife and kids got killed by like an axe murderer that was a
that wasn't him though. That was the family that was living there after him, wasn't it?
No, it was
him.
I think it was his family.
His
or like
family?
an ex. It was like a wife that he was separated from but not divorced or something like that.
Yeah.
I get confused because
like the like one of the housemates or something did it. Like it was just like mad at him and like
so it was down. Like it was some sort of like servant or like housemaid, and they lit the house on fire. Well, yeah, I don't remember what they did. It was something like that.
They poured gasoline on it.
They lit the house on fire, and then they stood outside with like an axe and just like chopped people up as they came out.
Beautiful home though.
And then the second fire was like an electrical fire, and I remember the tour guide said something like, he was like, because all of the living areas burnt or something like that, and the studio didn't burn, so he's like, God is telling me that like my life is messed up because I keep having these affairs, but like my building is like a work of like God or something like that.
Yeah.
So he like really doubled down on his studio.
Got another minute before time expires on the camera.
It was cool though. There was a like original schoolhouse there. Apparently his family like grew up on that property and had a schoolhouse. This one will probably have to go into the next segment, but have you ever heard of the House on the Rock? It's 20 minutes down the road from Taliesin. So I guess before I'll say where it is. It's in Wisconsin. Taliesin is like, I don't know, 30 minutes west of Madison, roughly. And then House on the Rock is like another 15 minutes away. and it was sort of built in the same time, like a little bit after Taliesin. And the story I've heard, which was just from like reading about it and listening to a few podcasts, um, this eccentric, like this guy was born into wealth, and he was embarrassing his parents basically, like in the city. And so they bought him this land and were just like, hey, go develop this land because we don't want you here because you're embarrassing us, and we'll like fund the whole thing. So like I said, it kind of like looks like just gardens and like this house on the outside, and there's a bunch of stone sculptures and stuff. But I guess it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Like there's a whole room that's just a carnival room, and he built built into the place is like this like fake organ system that plays carnival music
On its own?
Yeah, I think so. It's like intentionally meant to like sound bad. It's like bad recordings of carnival music. Like people say they start getting creeped out. Like people, because like when you walk through, like you pay for the tour, and you can't go back. You have to just like keep walking in a straight line. And they said it like just continually gets weirder. Like there's a whole room just with children's toys and dolls and things like that. And he'd always tell people like, so people actually don't know, because he was also some of the things were like art collections, and he would tell people that pieces there were like famous pieces by famous artists, and some of them were counterfeit and some of them were legit. And his whole thing was like that people had no idea what was real art or real collector's items there and what wasn't. But some of the other weird, so there's like the carnival room, and then there's a giant, it's either a shark or a whale replica in there that's like the largest replica in the world. It's like a whole room where it's just like a whale takes up a whole room. I can't think of anything else, but there were like really strange things there. I didn't get to tour that one because it closed. We were trying to do like both of them in the same day.
Yeah.
We just went through the gift shop. So I had no idea what it was, and I like flipped through one of those like books that has pictures of things in there.
Picture book, yeah.
What the heck is this place?
You need to go back. Excuse me.
I do need to go back. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've toured the Winchester Mystery House a couple times now.
What is that?
That's out in San Jose. That's I don't like the term mystery house because I don't think it's actually like very mysterious. I think it's just odd.
Mm-hmm.
But it's basically the wife of the Winchester guy, Winchester rifle guy. He died. She was left with like what at the time was like one of the largest fortunes in the world, and she was just kind of like a lonely lady, and she thought that like, I guess the rumors are she thought the ghosts of the people who are killed by Winchester rifles would come to haunt her.
Okay.
So that's a lot of ghosts. And so in order to keep she thought that she would confuse the ghosts by making like a house that the ghost would get lost in.
Mm-hmm.
And then also if she never stopped adding on to the house, the sounds of the hammers and saws and stuff would keep the ghosts away.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard of this now that you're describing it.
So like for like the rest of her life, this house was just kept being added onto, and it's so extensive, and it makes so little sense that like as you're walking through it, you have a tour guide with you, but there are arrows everywhere because like if you got lost,
confused, or
literally if you weren't with that tour guide, you could get actually lost. There were so many hallways and rooms that make no sense. There's a lot of situations where it's like to get to the room over, you have to go down a flight of stairs and then up a taller flight of stairs, because the rooms are like offset by like 3 feet.
That's really strange.
Or so, yeah. And
so did nobody ever lived in it?
She did.
Oh, she lived in it.
She lived in there. And
do they know where? Like, did she only live in a certain area of the house, or?
Yeah. So she had like a daughter who lived in there for a while and like died at a young age. But she had like 50 servants. that she paid to just like keep the house like nice.
Hmm.
And there were like these massive kitchens and stuff.
So are there any, like, were there any ghost sightings or like people actually think there's ghosts there or not?
No, I think that's just like one of the
Just
like
her
quirks
thing.
that they like to talk about in the tour.
Yeah.
Crazy house though, really beautiful. It's just wild. Um, there's a seance room where like she would go. There's
Wait, if you're trying to avoid ghosts, like, why would you have a seance
she
room?
went to this seance room uh, to like I don't know, like talk to like the ghosts of her family or something.
Okay.
And it's this weird room in the middle of the house, with only one door, and she would go in that door, but there's like a cupboard, and the cupboard had a false wall behind it. So you go in, like, you actually do this on the tour of the like house. You go in through the main door, and then everybody climbs through the cupboard to like get out into a little hallway that goes to like the rest of the house. And that's like how she did it.
Was she mentally ill?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Yeah. And so it's really fun. She had like
Was she old when she was widowed or
Yeah, she was older.
older?
She had really bad arthritis, and so like she couldn't lift her legs very high.
Yeah.
And so all the stairs, so like there were stairs that like her servants would take, but her stairs are she like called them low riser stairs, and like I'm not kidding, these stairs are like less than an inch tall, and they have so many switchbacks because her like to go up like 10 feet, it's like 300 stairs, and you have to keep going up what's essentially a ramp that keeps switching back. It's really goofy.
That's strange. This is reminding me of, have we ever talked about, in New York, there were those two brothers that like owned a whole building and they lived in there for 10 or 20 years or something like that. Like the people didn't know if they were still alive, but like sometimes they would see them like sneak out and get food.
Really?
I can't even think of their names or
What was their
exactly
deal?
what they did.
They just hid
They
this
had a
stuff?
bunch of money and like they lived in the house, and I think it might have been like the Depression era. But like the newspaper, like they were like known in the city, like the newspapers would kind of write about them and stuff.
It's fun.
But basically, they were hoarders too, and so there it was like a whole like apartment complex basically, and it was just packed with stuff, and there was just like tunnels, and so like the police sometimes would come there like to try to get them out, but they like couldn't get through, or like they would just like tell them to leave. But eventually, I forget how they figured out, but one of the brothers died in there, and parts of it were booby trapped. Like I think police got injured like trying to get in there to get them out. But like they'd have like libraries and stuff like that, and they had money. So and there were like collectible cars that were like partially disassembled in there, like just all kinds of stuff.
It's pretty neat.
Yeah, so I have to actually find the names of those people and do some research.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's pretty interesting.
I'll put it on the thing.
Yeah, put it in the link it below. Link it below.
Link it below.
When you like and subscribe, click the link below.
So for the two of you who made it to the end,
Unfiltered Coffee,
Yeah,
round 2. Round 3 coming soon. To a YouTube channel near you. Adios.